Hi, I'm Jess, and today I'm going to do my monthly recommendations. Monthly Recommendations is a Goodreads group that is run by Trina over at Between Chapters and Kayla Rain. I will link their channels and the Goodreads group down below. This month's topic is Monthly Recommends Trilogies, and I thought this was going to be a really easy monthly recommendations, and turns out it's not really, because apparently I've not read a lot of trilogies. So I struggled to get 10, but I've got 10. A few of them are not completed, but they're favourites of mine, even in the 2 books that I've read of them. So let's get started, I guess. So first I have a bit of a different one, and that is Alex and Ada. It's a comic book series, but it only has 3 volumes. Obviously it has more issues, but it is a trilogy, I guess, because of the volumes. And so I'm counting it. I love this. It's a story about Alex, and he lives in a world where robots, AI exists, but it's put a lid on. Like, they're not allowed to think for themselves. They're robots for servitude and to do what the humans tell them to do. And his grandmother gives him Ada, who is a robot, and he's not entirely satisfied with how she acts, and he's not entirely sure of the of having robots that can't think for themselves, and so he makes her sentient. And it's a story of their love story, and it's amazing. I have a beginner's graphic novel review of it if you are interested. I go into more of my thoughts there, and it's so great. I definitely recommend it to anybody who likes graphic novels and science fiction and stuff. Next is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. That's Daughter of Smoke and Bone, Days of Blood and Starlight, and Dreams of Gods and Monsters. It's a series that got better and better and better, and I loved, and I wasn't expecting to love. I put off Daughter of Smoke and Bone for so long because I thought I wasn't into high fantasy and I wasn't going to like high fantasy. But I loved it. The world building is so precise, and you feel like you're in this world, and it's so slowly built up. You don't figure out the things until Karu figures out the things, and she doesn't figure it out till like 3/4 of the way through the book, so it's really slow when you're given time to figure everything out. It's not like the character already knows everything and you've got to figure it out, and they don't. And it's just great, and it takes the angels and demons thing to another level and shows you how wars can be, and like the people in the wars, not just like the war as a whole, because it's showing how the war affected Karu and Akiva, and it's so great and I loved it so much. Next, I would probably consider this one my favourite series of all time, and that is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. I did bring it with me, it is on my shelf, but I'm not going to get it. But The Darkest Minds, I can't really express why it's my favourite series. It just is. It's one of the first series that I got really involved in and really wanted to have the next book, and it's one of them that I read pretty much along with its publication. I read it just before Never Fade was going to come out, and so I waited for it in the afterlight, and it was so hard. And it's one of them books that if somebody asks me for a recommendation of a series that they want to read, The Darkest Minds will be the one I give them, because I loved it so much. The romance between Ruby and Liam is great, the team is great, I loved it so much. It's got a wide ensemble cast, it's great and I loved it, and the world is great, it makes you think about things. Next is a controversial one, and that is The Selection series by Kira Cass. Not a lot of people like The Selection, they think it's cheesy, and I see that. I think it's cheesy, but I love it. It's like a guilty pleasure, but I'm not guilty about it at all. And I just really enjoyed it when I read it, and it's just great. And I really love it. Yeah. It's a princess book, but she has the choice, even though it doesn't feel like she has the choice, and it's great. It's like The Bachelor in a dystopian universe, and it's really great and I love it. Next is the Anna and the French Kiss series. So Anna and the French Kiss, Lola and the Boy Next Door, and I Learned Happily Ever After. And they're just 3 cute contemporaries that are set in different parts of the world and all line up somehow with their friendships and stuff. It was just really great. Yeah, it was amazing. I really, really enjoyed it. I think it was great to see how Stephanie Perkins quite easily made all of the romances quite individual and their relationships were unique to them, and you didn't feel like they were just parodies of other relationships. They were very realistic and unique, so I like that. Next is another science fiction series, and that is Shatta Me, and that's Shatter Me, Unravel Me, and Ignite Me, and it's about a girl who whose touch is lethal, and I do love this series just for Warner, and that's really bad, but the characters are so well developed in this. You're left hating, like, you can hate a character in the first book and then fall madly deeply in love with him in the other books, and it's just so weird how you can feel it that way, but that's how it makes you feel, and it's really weird. So now we get on to the series that I haven't finished it because either they aren't finished or I just haven't finished them, and that is the Winner's Curse series. It's the Winner's Curse and the Winner's Crime at the minute. The Winner's Kiss is coming out at March, I think. I'm not sure. I only recently read these, but I am dying to read them again. I loved them so much. I will read them again before The Winner's Kiss comes out, but I love them. It's political fantasy following Kestrel, who buys a slave and sort of doesn't believe in the slave trade in the world she lives in, but still buys a slave. And yeah, it's weird. But it's great. It's not got any like magical fantasy elements. It is just a political fantasy set in a world that we don't live in, and it's really great. And I feel like I'm just saying that all these books are really great, but they are really great. And the love story is slow burning, and I really liked that because you get a lot of insta love in YA, and yeah. And next is The Beautiful and the Cursed series. I've only read the first two books, although I have the last book with me. That is The Beautiful and the Cursed and the Lovely and the Lost. It's set in like, I think it's the Victorian times, I think. I'm not sure, don't quote me on it. It feels very The Infernal Devices. I read it at a similar time to The Infernal Devices, so it might just be me projecting that on it, but I think it does. It's about gargoyles, and I've never read anything about gargoyles before, so it was very odd to me and very like trying to learn about this mythology on gargoyles, and I really enjoyed that it was something so unique that it felt like The Infernal Devices, but it had its own thing. Like gargoyles are not something I've seen explored in anything else, so I really, really enjoyed it. And it follows the two sisters and their stories, so it's different because you don't just get one story of this world, you get the two stories from two different women. And lastly is one I mention all the time, and that is The Vanishing Girl. And it's The Vanishing Girl and the Decaying Empire, and then there's a third book coming out, but I'm not sure when and I'm not sure on the title. I just know that it is a trilogy, and I'm so excited because I thought it was only a duology, and I'm excited for the last book to come out and for this romance and story to continue and go on, because I feel like there's a lot more to explore in this world. It's about a girl who can teleport in the first 5 minutes of sleep. Was it 10 minutes? I'm not entirely sure. And she gets recruited by this government agency who she learns actually were the reason for her birth, and is paired with this boy called Caden, and she finds out that they were produced to be partners, and it's weird and it's great, and it's very unique, very, very unique. So that was my monthly recommendations. This video is quite long, but there are 10 books in it, so I'm not too bothered. Yeah, so that was my monthly recommendations, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.